Part 6. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zai. Chapter 51. Chapter 51, Love Forever. The next morning bad news came to the Gu family. Mr. Gu has lost his breath. Appears to have died around 3 o'clock in the morning. Grandma Gu couldn't bear the blow, so she fainted and was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. How could this happen? Grandpa was obviously fine yesterday. Gu Xing was already crying. Gu Yaoi and his wife hugged each other and cried bitterly. Yang Ruimin kept blaming herself for not taking good care of Mr. Gu. Gu Zhaozhao punched the wall. He hated himself. He hated that as a man, he couldn't even take care of his own relatives. The forensic examination results came out, saying that he died of poisoning, and a very deadly poison was found in Mr. Gu's medicine. The Gu family were all surprised. Who in the world wanted to harm their family? Before the cause of Yang Zizi's death was found out, another case emerged. There has never been anyone in their Gu family who had a deep hatred for them for generations. Who is so cruel as to attack an old man? Who is it? Gu Zixi shouted angrily. These two cases must be committed by the same person. Who delivered the medicine to Mr. Gu yesterday? The forensic doctor asked. Since we want to check, we must start from whose hands the medicine passed through. This is Su Zheng, our private medical team, Gu Xing said quickly and cried. Su Zheng was brought over by the servant. He lowered his head and raised his eyelids from time to secretly glance at the stars. Did you see anyone when you delivered the medicine yesterday, or did anyone come into contact with this bowl of medicine? The forensic doctor asked. Only Su Zheng's fingerprints were detected on the bowl, but no other people's fingerprints were detected. It was said that either Su Zheng had touched it alone, or that person was very smart and used some means to prevent his fingerprints from sticking to the bowl. Su Zheng hesitated for a moment. When he thought of what happened last night, he finally gritted his teeth, shook his head and said, "No." Who did you meet when you were delivering the medicine? The forensic doctor continued to ask. It was also very strange. There were cameras in every corner of Gu's house, but no one except Su Zheng was seen entering Mr. Gu's room. The murderer is very smart. Although she doesn't know how she hid herself in the camera, it can be definitely concluded that the murderer is a member of the Gu family, and he is absolutely familiar with the terrain of the Gu family villa. No, Su Zheng shook his head. The forensic doctor kept giving him opportunities, but he seemed to have given up the opportunity to defend himself. You. The forensic doctor was about to continue asking. Su Zheng suddenly shouted like crazy, "Don't ask any more, it was me. I killed Mr. Gu. I hate him. It was he who ruined my good deeds. He clearly knew that I liked Miss Gu, but he still intentional obstruction." Everyone was surprised. They didn't expect that this young and promising young man would hide such a big secret in his heart. Yang Ruimin tightly protected Gu Xing by her side. Gu Zhaozhao was so angry that he grabbed his collar and punched him. "You beast, my grandfather has never done anything sorry to you, why do you want to kill him?" Gu Zhaozhao shouted at him angrily. The police arrived and arrested Su Zheng. Before leaving, Su Zheng's eyes looked so humble and helpless. Gu Xing didn't care about this. Seeing Su Zheng taking the blame for his sins, he smiled proudly. There are actually men in the world who are so stupid. It is finally over, and now no one can stand in his way. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zai. Chapter 52. Chapter 52 Return. Not long after Su Zheng was arrested, another piece of bad news came from the hospital. Grandma Gu was so sad because of Mr. Gu's departure that she couldn't survive it and fell directly on the hospital bed. The Gu family has been having cases one after another. The Gu family was devastated. They lost 3 of their closest family members one after another. They really couldn't accept it. Yang Zizi rushed back to Gu's house overnight after seeing the news. Seeing them scattered in the hall, they all looked pale and listless, and the whole villa lost a trace of vitality. How could this happen? Yang Zizi couldn't believe it. He hadn't been home long before such a thing happened. Everyone who heard the sound suddenly opened their eyes wide and looked at Yang Zizi. Sister, Gu Zhaozhao and Gu Zixi shouted in surprise, and then ran over frantically, hugging her and rubbing their tears and snot on Yang Zizi's clothes. Yang Ruimin covered her mouth when she saw Yang Zizi, feeling both heartbroken and surprised. Gu Yaoi stood aside and hugged Yang Ruimin. He was also very happy to see Yang Zizi. Sitting on the sofa, Gu Xingxing's legs suddenly felt weak. Fortunately, she was sitting, otherwise she would not be able to stand. He didn't believe it. He clearly saw her fall into the sea with his own eyes and fish her body out. This was impossible. He was obviously dead. Gu Xingxing was breathing rapidly, almost out of breath. He thought everything was over, but unexpectedly, this was just the beginning. Yang Zizi's eyes suddenly looked at Gu Xingxing. Gu Xingxing was instantly frightened and his face turned pale, and his whole body began to tremble unconsciously. Her eyes, why are her eyes glowing red? Yang Zizi walked to Yang Ruimin's side, and Yang Ruimin couldn't stop her tears from flowing out. Don't worry, I'm fine, and I won't let anything happen to you. He failed to protect his grandparents, but he will use all his strength to protect his parents and brothers. Because she had never enjoyed the love her family had for her. Now, in the Gu family, she felt it. Although Yang Ruimin and Gu Yaoi did not give her a lot of love, he believed that they loved her in their hearts. I'm sorry, child. Yang Ruimin blamed herself extremely. She couldn't believe how he could have evil thoughts about her daughter. It's all over. Yang Zizi reached out to touch her tears. I will definitely find out about Grandpa's death and make the murderer pay 1,000 times the price. Zizi, the murderer has been found. He is our family's personal doctor Su Zheng. He has been arrested by the police, Gu Yaoi said. Things are not as simple as you heard, Mom and Dad. I hope you won't be sad after learning the truth. Because she has no right to make them feel bad. What? Sister, did you say there was someone else as the murderer? Gu Zixi ran over and asked anxiously. Sister, how is this possible? Su Zheng personally admitted that he killed Grandpa. Gu Xingxing suddenly stood up and finally spoke. Yes, Zizi, are you thinking too much? Yang Ruimin looked at Yang Zizi with distress. You think things are too simple, Yang Zizi said coldly. I think my sister is right. The investigation of the case was too simple. It was too hasty to decide that Su Zheng was the murderer in one sentence. The two brothers Gu Zixi also stood up to support Yang Zizi. Gu Xingxing instantly felt a crisis. Why didn't anything good happen when Yang Zizi showed up? Okay, Yang Zizi, since you are so nosy, don't blame her for being rude. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. The Truth. At night, three figures so white that they glowed suddenly appeared at the door of Gu's house. They were tall, and they were all wearing cloaks with hoods. The cloaks fluttered lightly under the majesty. The three figures disappeared at the door of Gu's house in the blink of an eye and appeared in Gu Xingxing's room. Ah! Gu Xingxing's painful screams came from the room. Yang Zizi was awakened and felt the breath of his brothers. She quickly ran to Gu Xingxing's room, and Gu Xingxing was hiding in the corner with his head in his hands. Three teenagers flashed in front of her in an instant, their sharp fangs flashing. Brother, Yang Zizi shouted. The three teenagers turned their heads and immediately returned to normal when they saw Yang Zizi. At this moment, Gu Xingxing had fainted. Sister, brother wants to kill this woman. If he dares to hurt you, I will make him pay a heavy price. Gui Chen Chen looked at Gu Xing who had fainted on the ground with hatred, and really wanted to pounce on him and his blood away. Brother, the human world has laws. He belongs to humans and should be punished by the law. Yang Zizi looked at Gu Xing and said coldly. They, who are crazy about doting on their sisters, naturally relied on Yang Zizi. You should leave first, the family members are about to wake up. In the blink of an eye, the three highnesses disappeared without a trace. Xing, Yang Ruimin ran out wearing slippers, followed by Gu Yaoi. What's wrong with the stars? Yang Ruimin asked Yang Zizi who was standing at the door. It's a pity that Yang Ruimin was so kind to him, but he treated the Gu family like this. If Yang Ruimin knew that all this was done by the daughter she had raised for more than 10 years, he would be so devastated. It must be a nightmare, Yang Zizi replied calmly. Then why are you sitting in the corner? Yang Ruimin felt distressed and wanted to go in and help her go to bed. Yang Zizi stopped her. Mom, just let him sleep like that. Yang Ruimin hesitated for a moment and finally compromised. Yang Zizi watched Gu Yaoi and his wife leave and sighed. The next morning, a video was playing on the Gu family's TV. Gu Xing pressed her temples and walked downstairs. When she saw the screen of the TV series, she was so frightened that she rushed to the TV to turn it off. When she heard a roar that almost gave her a heart attack, stop. Gu Xing blocked her entire body in front of the TV. She was trembling all over and wanted to speak but didn't know how to explain. Get away, Yang Ruimin pulled Gu Xing away and saw the scene of Gu Xing poisoning the medicine on the screen. Gu Xing was terrified. What was going on? He had obviously cleaned the camera, so why was there still a video? Why? Yang Ruimin yelled heartbreakingly. For so many days, he had never doubted that the daughter he had raised for more than 10 years had done this. This was so devastating. Why, your grandpa is so good to you. Yang Ruimin was crying and couldn't understand why Gu Xing did that. After so many years, did he have no feelings at all, so that he gave Grandpa Gu to him without hesitation? Poisoned. Gu Xing's tears flowed down. Is this the end of his life? At this time, Yang Zizi came down from upstairs. Gu Xing glared at Yang Zizi. It must have been Yang Zizi's doing, he must have put the video on the TV, his words last night had already proved that she was suspicious of her. You bitch, I'm going to kill you. Gu Xing frantically picked up the fruit knife on the coffee table and stabbed Yang Zizi in the neck. Yang Ruimin collapsed and shouted, no. The corners of Yang Zizi's mouth raised slightly, not overestimating his abilities. With a slight push from her hand, Gu Xing was thrown out of the door, and his waist hit the fish tank. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 54. Chapter 54. Does my child miss me? At this time, the police arrived just in time. They must have seen this video on the screens of high-rise buildings across the city. The police team was also followed by the two brothers Gu Zixi and Gu Zhaozhao, and even Gu Yaoi, who had not gone to work in the company for several days. Let alone, there is nothing wrong with being among the police. If his family fortune hadn't held him back, he would probably have become a very qualified policeman. It went well and Gu Xing was arrested. Yang Ruimin watched Gu Xing handcuffed, still somewhat reluctant to let go. After all, he was the child he had raised for more than 10 years. Mom. You should have listened to Grandpa and not brought the stars home. Gu Zhaozhao on the side complained that Yang Ruimin didn't listen to Grandpa. Unexpectedly, Mr. Gu was also a prophet before. However, since the adopted daughter was as old as her own biological granddaughter, she softened her heart. It is a pity that when he grew up, he killed him with his own hands. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. Yang Ruimin shed her eyes as she blamed herself. Yang Zizi really didn't like this atmosphere, so he was ready to leave the Gu family. Zizi, where are you going? Guyaoi hurriedly called her. Go home. Yang Ruiman walked over, holding Yang Zizi's hand with shame and remorse, and said with tears, silly boy, this is your home. Have you forgotten that I'm already married? Yang Zizi said, showing his marriage certificate from nowhere. They looked confused. Yang Zizi is not an adult at all, so it is impossible for the Civil Affairs Bureau to issue a marriage certificate. But how could they know that such a simple matter as getting a marriage certificate could be done with just a few clicks of a finger? Yang Zizi smiled mysteriously and waved to them without any explanation, I'm leaving. He has not had time to make a video call with Lun Chenchi for so many days. He didn't answer the last call from Lun Chenchi. He must be worried now. Yang Zizi returned home and immediately dialed Lun Chenchi's phone number. Suddenly, he found that the phone was ringing from behind. Yang Zizi looked back and was pulled into a hug by a strong hand. My child, have you missed me? His voice was as gentle and charming as usual. I can't imagine it. Yang Zizi jumped excitedly in his arms. Why did you come back suddenly and didn't even say a word to me? Yang Zizi leaned on his shoulder and acted coquettishly. Because I want to give you a surprise. Yang Zizi laughed contentedly, hugging his waist and refusing to let go. Did your business trip go well? The next moment, Yang Zizi was sitting on Lun Chenchi's lap, holding his neck, and asked sweetly. Well, it went very well. Lun Chenchi smiled and nodded, otherwise he would not have been able to come back so quickly. Are you hungry? I'll cook for you. Lun Chenchi smiled and scratched his little nose and said fondly. Yeah. Yang Zizi nodded with a smile. Lun Chenchi gently picked her up and put her on the sofa. He walked into the kitchen with his long legs and his apron. Yang Zizi leaned on the sofa and watched Lun Chenchi enter the kitchen. Every move he made was so beautiful that he couldn't help but be fascinated. Looking at Lun Chenchi's appearance, it seems that he still doesn't know what he has experienced in the past few days. Although he looked relaxed, she still caught a trace of worry in his eyes. What was he worried about? He was a vampire, and he was fully capable of protecting her for the rest of his life. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 55. Chapter 55, Kid, it's time to get down to business. Yang Zizi couldn't sit still, so he ran to the kitchen and hung himself on Lun Chenchi's body. No matter what he said, he couldn't get it off. Lun Chenchi had no choice but to let him hang it, and it wouldn't weigh much anyway. It was just that the fumes in the kitchen were a bit heavy. Lun Chenchi held Yang Zizi in his arms, kissed her on the mouth, and coaxed her gently, be good, my child, the meal will be ready soon. Why don't you go to the living room and play alone for a while? There's a lot of oil smoke here. How can I let you stay with the oil smoke when you're so cute? Lun Chenchi couldn't help but scratch Yang Zizi's lovingly as he spoke. Nose. Yang Zizi really couldn't stand the charm that Lun Chenchi was exuding all over his body, so he nodded obediently and agreed, okay. Yang Zizi was carried to the living room by Lun Chenchi, and then returned to the kitchen to cook. Yang Zizi's eyes can never leave Lun Chenchi for a moment. She would be carried out by Lun Chenchi many times when she tried to break into the kitchen. Just like this, it cycled several times. Finally, Lun Chenchi prepared the meal. Child, it's time to eat. The child couldn't wait to sit at the dining table, looking at the large table of delicious dishes, and Haraba's tears almost flowed out. Eat more and stay healthy. Lun Chenchi bought a bowl as big as a basin for Yang Zizi to serve rice and vegetables. Yang Zizi is completely covered. In the eyes of Lun Chenchi, is there any difference between his stomach and a pig's stomach? Eat. Lun Chenchi placed the bowl and chopsticks in front of Yang Zizi. Yang Zizi hesitated to move his chopsticks. I'll feed you. Lun Chenchi picked up the bowl, sat down next to Yang Zizi, scooped up a spoonful of food, and coaxed Yang Zizi to eat. Lun Chenchi, what do you think of me? Yang Zizi pouted, held his hands, and looked at Lun Chenchi angrily. Honey, Lun Chenchi blinked his big innocent eyes. Did he make any mistake to make the child so angry? You feed me so much, do you want me to become fat, then you can naturally find other slim girls. Girls are always so inexplicable when they get angry, and they always have magical logic. Child, what are you thinking about? I, Lun Chenchi, only love you in my life. Lun Chenchi was amused by Yang Zizi's cute appearance and magical imagination. How can his child be so cute? Really? Of course, fool Lun Chenchi touched the top of his head. Yang Zizi finally smiled sweetly and opened his mouth wide and swallowed a spoonful of food. Wow, hubby, the food you cooked is delicious. Yang Zizi danced with her hands and feet excitedly. Then eat more. Yang Zizi was about to open his mouth wide and take another spoonful when he suddenly stopped and confirmed to Lun Chenchi, if I get fat, will you really not want me? Of course Lun Chenchi laughed, wondering when his children had become so sensitive. Lun Chenchi stuffed a whole bowl of rice into Yang Zizi's belly. Yang Zizi was lying on the sofa after eating and drinking, only to realize that Lun Chenchi hadn't eaten yet. Oh, he almost forgot, they vampires don't eat human food, otherwise they will feel uncomfortable. What a pity for these delicacies, and also pity for these vampires, who have never had a bite of so many delicacies in the world. Child, after you've eaten and drank enough, it's time to get down to business. Lun Chenchi sat on the sofa, holding his head and looking at Yang Zizi. Business. Yang Zizi lowered his head and smiled secretly. The serious business he is talking about is consummating the marriage, right? Child, what are you thinking about? It's time to go to bed at this time, Lun Chenchi suddenly said, causing Yang Zizi's smile to disappear instantly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zai. Chapter 56. Chapter 56. My tenderness only belongs to you. A warm morning. It was so fun to go to school with Lun Chenchi. Yang Zizi looked at Lun Chenchi, who was driving seriously with a smile on his face. He could be called a little fangirl. You have to pay for looking at me at the red light. Lun Chenchi stopped the car, stretched his head over and kissed Yang Zizi on the lips. Yang Zizi smiled stupidly, raised his head and said sweetly to her, I am willing to pay the price for my whole life. The two looked at each other and smiled. The car on the side saw the scene through the glass window, and couldn't help but take some CP. As soon as Lun Chenchi parked his car, his child disappeared. Lun Chenchi shook his head helplessly, even his eyes were doting. The first lesson was his. He walked into the classroom with his textbook in hand. The first thing I noticed was that Yang Zizi's position was empty. Lun Chenchi instinctively looked under the podium, and sure enough he saw Yang Zizi sitting cross-legged under the podium, with a sweet smile on his face, and waved to say hello to her. Lun Chenchi is both funny and doting. His children are so weird and cute. Professor, do you need to call your name? The monitor stood up and asked. No need. Other than Yang Zizi, who skipped his class boldly and recklessly, who else would be willing to skip his class? Think about this question for yourselves. Lun Chenchi deliberately asked the students to solve a difficult problem. He squatted down pretending to tie his shoelaces as before. Due to his height, half of Lun Chenchi's head was exposed on the podium. In addition, the students sitting under the podium can still see Lun Chenchi's handsome face. In the prosperous times of Lun, no matter how low you bend your waist, how low you lower your head. Yang Zizi found it funny looking at Lun Chenchi, who was trying so hard to reduce his height. Yang Zizi suddenly held his face and kissed him. Why are you so cute? He kissed him again, and again. Lun Chenchi raised his eyebrows and was passive. It was very shameless. Lun Chenchi put his arms around Yang Zizi's neck and kissed her lips. I don't know how long the kiss lasted, but the classmate suddenly broke the silence. "Professor, I did it. This monitor has a lot to do." Lun Zhenqi stood up seriously and suddenly found the squad leader walking towards the podium with a scratch paper. Lun Zhenqi stopped him anxiously. The squad leader handed the draft paper to Lun Zhenqi to show off that he had made it. "I have to admit that the monitor of their class has a very high IQ. Okay, now that it's done, I'll let you take physical education class this time." The monitor ran out of the classroom excitedly. "I dare to ask which student doesn't like physical education class, and it is also a free physical education class." Lun Zhenqi pretended to put the squad leader's scratch paper on the blackboard using a small magnet. This is what the squad leader made. "You all should study hard. You are not allowed to plagiarize. You can learn from it." Not long after, all the male classmates were let out by Lun Zhenqi to take physical education classes. There are only about 20 girls left in the class who are reluctant to go out. "Since you can't do it, then go ask the classmates who have done it." Lun Zhenqi wanted to drive them away. But none of them moved at all and were reluctant to leave. "If you can't solve this problem within 1 minute, you won't need to take my classes from now on." The classmates started writing one after another, and Lun Zhenqi gave them a perfunctory look before letting them go to physical education class. Now, only Yang Zizi and Lun Zhenqi are left in the classroom. Lun Zhenqi closed the classroom door. Yang Zizi came out from under the podium. "You are so fierce, what should I do if you scare them?" "My tenderness only belongs to you." Lun Zhenqi looked at Yang Zizi affectionately. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 57. Chapter 57, Introducing a Partner to Straight Men. The two-person world of two people spending half a class in the classroom. After class, Lun Zhenqi was going back to the company. He had not learned anything about the company during the past few days because he asked Bai Zhishu to watch over him before leaving. "I don't know what happened to this unreliable guy. It's easy to say anything, as long as it doesn't bankrupt his company." Yang Zizi reluctantly held Lun Zhenqi's hand and refused to let him leave. "Be good, I'll pick you up as soon as get out of class is over." No matter how much Lun Zhenqi coaxed her, he just wouldn't let go. "Take me to skip class." Yang Zizi shook Lun Zhenqi's hand and begged coquettishly. Looking at such cute Yang Zizi, Lun Zhenqi finally felt soft-hearted. "Okay, just this once." Yang Zizi successfully conquered Lun Zhenqi. When he arrived at the company, Bai Zhishu ran over to greet him excitedly. When he was about to give Lun Zhenqi a big hug, he saw Yang Zizi beside him and instantly changed his target. "You dare!" Lun Zhenqi's threatening tone sounded. Bai Zhishu immediately stopped, glanced at Lun Zhenqi, and curled his lips. Didn't he just want to hug his sister-in-law? "Why are you so angry?" "Mean." It was in vain that he spent so many days trying his best to look after the company for him. "Although I didn't do much, I just sat in the office of Lun Zhenqi, drank tea, signed autographs and so on." "Hello, President." Suddenly, a long-legged beauty walked over, winked at Lun Zhenqi intentionally or unintentionally, and shouted with a smile. In accordance with the company's purpose, Lun Zhenqi nodded politely. Yang Zizi held Lun Zhenqi's arm and was very unhappy. Made a face at the female employee who had walked away. Back in the office, Yang Zizi always imitates the long-legged beauty downstairs and says, "Hello, CEO." Then he imitated Lun Zhenqi's expression and nodded. Deliberately made for Lun Zhenqi to see. Lun Zhenqi looked at Yang Zizi's abnormal behavior and sat upright. He looked at Yang Zizi, narrowed his deep eyes slightly and said, "Child, are you jealous?" "Ha, it's a joke, I don't know what vinegar smells like." Yang Zizi arrogantly covered his heart. Lun Zhenqi smiled, picked up the phone, made a call, and said, "Fire all the female employees wearing black stockings." Yang Zizi was shocked. "Replenish." Yang Zizi suddenly saw Bai Zhishu who was about to leave, and quickly stopped him. Bai's Hisha still had 5% of the credit for his and Lunzhenji's successful cultivation. So, he decided to introduce a partner to this pretty good-looking young man, saving a lot of people who are still lonely at this age. Bai's Hishu, what kind of girl do you like? Yang Zizi asked. Lunzhenji watched with great interest how his children acted as matchmakers for others. He thought it was cute no matter how he looked at it. As long as it's a human being, Bai's Hisha said. Yang Zizi's face darkened. How casual is that? Then do you have any requirements? Just stay alive, Bai's Hisha smiled. If Yang Zizi didn't know him, he would have thought him a fool. I have a roommate who prays to God every night to give him a boyfriend, so I want to help him and introduce you to her. After hearing this, Bai's Hisha declined and said, no, I'm fine alone. Lunzhenji glanced at him, which made Bai's Hisha frightened for a second. He responded with a smile, okay, no problem. He was not afraid of him, but because his sister-in-law was so kind, he couldn't bear to refuse. It may not be possible to meet him anyway. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 58. Chapter 58. Your partner is here. Yang Zizi called Fifei to tell her that she wanted to introduce a partner to her, and Fifei immediately took off with joy. As agreed with Yang Zizi, we came to a coffee shop downstairs of Lunzhenji Company. Fifei has a strong sense of time and arrived very early. When Fifei called Yang Zizi, she was still being eaten by her husband in the Lunzhenji office. Yang Zizi came downstairs to meet with Fifei, but Bai's Hisha didn't show up yet. What's going on? It was clearly agreed upon at this time. What an unreliable guy. Zizi, are you lying to me? Fifei started to wait a little anxiously, wondering if Yang Zizi was playing with her. How is that possible? Just wait a minute. I'll call him. This Bai Chu really made him lose face in front of his roommates. The phone rang for a long time before I answered it. Hello, the other party's voice was hazy, and you could tell he wasn't awake. Bai's Hishu. Are you still lying on the bed? Yang Zizi shouted angrily. Yes, Bai's Hishu admitted without hesitation. Have you forgotten that I told you that I wanted to introduce someone to you? Everyone is here, where are you? No wonder he has been single for so long and no one has introduced him to a partner. Oh, I'll be there soon, Bai's Hisha said calmly and hung up the phone. Wait a minute, he will be here soon. Let me tell you, if you meet Bai's Hishu, you will definitely fall in love with him. Yang Zizi began to brainwash Fifei again, but he was telling the truth. 10 minutes later, a small yellow car stopped in front of them. Morning, Bai's Hisha put one foot on the ground and greeted them. Yang Zizi looked at Bai's Hisha with great disdain. His fluffy hair looked like a chicken coop, and he was dressed in casual clothes that looked bright and clean. The contrast was really unique. The most important thing is that today he did not drive a limited edition sports car, but came here in a small yellow car. Where is your car? Yang Zizi approached Bai's Hishu and asked him in his ear. Out of gas, Bai's Hishu said with a smile. Then you should comb your hair. Bai's Hishu said with a smile again, time is tight, there is no time. Yang Zizi really wanted to punch him away. This young man, who is usually sunny and handsome, loses his temper at critical moments. She thought Fifei would be angry because of this, introducing him to such a poor boy who didn't like to comb his hair. However, unexpectedly, Fifei started to act like a nymphomaniac with her face in her hands. Sure enough, a person with a good-looking face will make people's heart beat faster no matter how well-groomed they are. You go in and chat, I'll leave first for them. She didn't even finish breakfast. Hi, Fifei greeted Bai's Hisha cautiously. Hey, you must be Zizi's roommate Fifei. The girl Fifei was heartbroken and looked straight at Bai's Hishu. Have you had breakfast? Bai's Hishu asked. Yeah, Fifa, I nodded, still feeling infatuated. What did you eat? Bais Hishu asked. Eat milk and bread. I drink pure milk. What kind of milk are you drinking? Excellent yogurt, Fifa, I replied. Gradually, their chat became more and more boring. Let's go in and sit down, Fifa, I pointed to the cafe at the back. Good. The two of them found a seat and sat down. At this moment, Yang Zizi was working with Lun Zhenqi in his office. After thinking about it, he was still worried that the unreliable Bais Hishu would mess things up. Just when she was about to get up to investigate the situation, Lun Zhenqi said without raising her head, "Where do you want to go? Your partner is here." The smell of vinegar seemed to spread from Lun Zhenqi. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 59. Chapter 59. The Little Jealousy King is online. Don't I want to see what's going on with them? Yang Zizi smiled coquettishly, walked to Lun Zhenqi, and sat on his lap. Why are you such a gossip? He scratched her nose lovingly and gently. I am not gossiping. Since I am the middleman, I naturally have to understand their situation, Yang Zizi said matter-of-factly. It's useless. Lun Zhenqi put down the document, seemingly helpless. What's wrong? Actually, 2 years ago, Bais Hishu had a girlfriend who he grew up with as a childhood sweetheart, but she left him because of an accident. Lun Zhenqi teased the hair behind her ears. So this is the reason why Bais Hishu has never found a girlfriend. Lun Zhenqi nodded. So it's impossible for Bais Hishu to accept Fifa. I didn't expect that Bais Hishu, a straight man, would have such a vigorous love story between his childhood sweetheart and his best friend. Not necessarily. You can let them get in touch first, which can also help him get out of the shadows, Lun Zhenqi said. Not long after, Yang Zizi received a call from Fifa. She seemed aggrieved and cried and complained, Zizi. What's wrong? He felt something was wrong. I like Bais Hishu, she cried. Yang Zizi motioned for her to continue. Fifa cried in various ways about how Bais Hishu was a straight man. Said that when they were in the coffee shop, Fifa deliberately said that the coffee was very hot, meaning that she wanted Bais Hishu to blow the coffee for her like the couple next door, but unexpectedly, he directly asked the waiter to put the coffee in the refrigerator to chill it. Fifa suddenly felt bad. It happened that her aunt was here and she couldn't drink anything cold at all. Fifa deliberately said she had a stomachache again, and Bais Hishu just said, drink more hot water. When he finally left, Bais Hishu said directly, the little yellow car will be overloaded with 2 people, so I'll leave first. After saying that, he ran away on the little yellow car, leaving him alone in the wind. Yang Zizi really couldn't stand listening anymore. Did this guy Bais Hishu do it on purpose or not? I really like him, but he's too straight. Fifa really hates iron. She fell in love with his appearance, but was stumped by his personality. It's okay, your personality can be changed, Yang Zizi comforted her. It was her first time being a matchmaker, so naturally she had to look more professional. After talking to the woman, Yang Zizi started to call the man. Bais Hishu, are you a fool? You can't even show off. This Bai Chu, at least save some face for him. After all, he was the one she introduced to Fifa. Oh, sister-in-law, don't introduce me to anyone, isn't it nice to be alone? You're so handsome, are you planning to stay single for the rest of your life? Lun Zhenqi looked at Yang Zizi with interest. Why he suddenly had the visual sense of a mother lecturing her son. Sister-in-law, don't worry about it. If you want to look for it, you will find it. My external and financial conditions are first-rate, so I'm afraid I can't find it. You. Lun Zhenqi couldn't stand listening anymore, so he took his cell phone and pressed the hang up button. I'm not finished yet. Do you think it's polite for a boy to care about other people in front of your partner? Lunchenchi looked at him with a smile. She then realized that her man was jealous again. Okay, forget it, Yang Zizi comforted his little jealous king with a flash of his hand. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 60. Chapter 60. She is coming. Our news is that the man who killed the richest man, Mr. Gu, and the Gu family's fake daughter escaped from prison at 5 o'clock this morning. Gu Yaoi's family, who were having breakfast, suddenly heard the report on TV and panicked. After a while, the police came in and asked them for clues about Gu Xing, but how could he know, not to mention that they had completely driven Gu Xing out of the Gu family, so how could they let him get close to this place? After hearing this, the police went to look for clues elsewhere. Gu Zhaozhao quickly called Yang Zizi. By this time, he already knew the news about Gu Xing's escape from prison. It is impossible for him to have such great ability to escape from prison on his own, there must be some big shot behind him to help him. Gu Yaoi's family, including Yang Zizi, helped the police search for him for a long time but could not find him. Yang Ruimin softened her heart and didn't want to look for her anymore. Although Gu Xing escaped from prison, she didn't know whether she could survive alone outside. The police have never given up on searching for Gu Xing. They have been sending people to search secretly. If there are clues, they will arrest him immediately. Yang Zizi kissed Lun Zhenqi again and again on the face, and finally walked to school reluctantly. When I came to the classroom, the classmates gathered around and whispered, not knowing what they were talking about. The head teacher came in, leading an aloof girl in. The girl is exceptionally good looking, but her cold face makes people feel intimidated. Sister, Gui Chen called out in surprise. Yang Zizi looked at them doubtfully. How many sisters do you recognize? What is the hobby of these 5 brothers? They like to claim their sisters everywhere. Ification. Yang Zizi rolled his eyes. They are really obsessed, everyone is his biological sister. Ghost Chow Le. Yang Zizi didn't know what the head teacher said. He only saw the aloof girl drop his name and walk to the seat 2 seats away from him and sit down. He didn't even think about saying hello to Gui Chen and the others. He looked very much like a stranger. Is she really your sister? Yang Zizi didn't believe it. Aren't aloof people generally aloof to outsiders and appear nervous in front of people close to them? She's angry because we didn't take her out to play, Gui Yi whispered in his ear. Yang Zizi glanced at Gui Kale again. His skin was so white. After class, a group of boys ran over to show their courtesy. Unexpectedly, they were frightened by Gui Kale's look and ran away quickly. Gui Kale's eyes suddenly looked towards Yang Zizi. Yang Zizi also looked at him. A hint of surprise suddenly flashed across Gui Kale's eyes, then he slowly closed his eyes, opened them, and then looked away. Yang Zizi glanced at the snacks on the table. He probably wanted to eat his snacks too. She picked up a lollipop and handed it to Gui Kale generously. Smile more after eating the candy, Yang Zizi said with a big smile on her face. Gui Kale was stunned for a moment. Then he grabbed the lollipop and held it in his palm. When he opened his palm again, the lollipop was gone. Instead, a cloud of smoke filled the air and disappeared. Vampire. It's a vampire again. It seems that she is really Gui Yi's sister. She is a human being, and she is surrounded by vampires. He is really lucky to be alive till now. Yang Zizi laughed dryly a few times. Back in the classroom, the 5 brothers saw Yang Zizi standing next to Gui Kale, and subconsciously thought that Gui Kale was bullying Yang Zizi. End of this chapter.